could probably do it once a week, and I could probably come up here and blather on about bikes for 2 hours, where you guys are like falling asleep. But so I kind of want to keep it as informal as we can. I guess I'll just give like a little bit of background for me, kind of where I'm at with the industry and things like that. I've been at the TREK stores, formerly High Gear TREK stores, for 9 years now. I've managed some store or another for 8 of those years. I'm now managing the Omaha market. We have 2 stores here. When I started at the bike shop, there were about 4 guys, and now there's 4 guys at one bike shop, and now I think it's like a $7 to $10 million a year company. We have 6 stores. We have an online company. So the owners eventually just get higher, but the employees kind of stay the same, and they're really good about kind of leaving a bike culture. And so, they're like, we're corporate. Sorry, we're corporate, but the culture is going to be up to you guys. You guys set the culture. You guys just let people know. You guys grow the sport, which is great. And as a company, they're really great about just advocacy and getting out and talking about bikes. And I guess a good example is last week, I was just kind of concocting ways for me to get paid to ride, which I do from now and again. And I was just like, if we put somebody on the Keystone Trail with a bunch of tubes and a bunch of pumps, that'd be great. Like, what great PR? You wear a jersey, or you wear, because we have tons of these, TREK bicycle store jerseys. I have approximately 1 million of them in my house. And so I'm like, we should do that. We should just ride them down the Keystone on beautiful sunny days. And the owner's like, I love it. Do it. Put somebody on it. It's going to be, we won't make any money off of it, but we're going to be out there growing the sport. So I think it's kind of cool that, how loose they let us be with it. So I've been managing for a long time, and I've been into the sport for a long time. I think with anything that you do, you kind of get sick of it at some point. I went through a point where it's like nobody even talked to me about bikes. Like once, I kind of just yabba dabba do, that'd be it. I'd leave work, and then that was it. Don't talk to me about bikes. But I'm definitely out of that. I'm over that right now. I'm having fun again with it. I was fortunate enough to go to the Serrata School of Cycling Ergonomics, which I never knew fit schools existed. But about 6 years ago, I think they sent me to this place, and it was in Saratoga Springs, New York. It snowed for the whole time I was there, but it was great. I learned a lot about fitting bikes and fitting shoes, fitting people to bikes, and the cycling ergonomics. So any questions we're going to have about that, please just let me know. One of the big things I think for us to get out here, especially to a predominantly women's group, is to get out and kind of maybe tear down the curtain between bike shop dude and customer, because there's so many bike shop dudes that you go in, and there's nothing against those guys, but it's just like sometimes people aren't welcoming. You have to grow the sport. If you want to tell the customers how great you are and how much you know about bikes, the customer isn't going to care too much at all. And so the one thing I think we do well at our shops is try to be really inviting. There are people there who are just stupid fast, like just ridiculous. Linda comes in all the time, and Linda is stupid fast too. But there's I don't know if anybody's ever heard of Lowell Peterson, just because he's kind of out there on the cancer front. He's a leukemia survivor, and surviving leukemia has turned him absolutely into Peter Pan, and Benjamin Buttons on top of it, because he just gets faster and faster every year. And the guy is just ridiculous. He's like 57 years old, and I can't even keep him in my sights if I tried, on a good day. One time he was sick, that was a good day for me. Stay with him. But the most modest guy you'll ever meet, and that's just kind of the attitude we want out there. And so, speaking of women's triathlon groups, I've been involved. I started a women's triathlon group at the shop, and mainly because my wife was talking about getting into triathlons, and so she's like, oh, that's great, you have an in, and she's like, I'm really intimidated to come to the bike shop though. It's like essentially my shop. And my wife was intimidated to go in there. I thought that was really weird. I thought that really spoke volumes about how intimidating it is for women to come into bike shops if the woman I sleep next to every night doesn't want to come in. And so, you know, I recruited a couple women to help me, and we have, it's called Women Who Try. And so if you guys want to, you know, follow it on Facebook, you know, it's not going to, you know, I think all these tribe groups can coexist. So if you're on Facebook, find Women Who Try. It's free clinics. It's kind of a sense of community. Find a training partner, and it's worked out really well. We've gotten a lot of people in there who are first-time triathletes, and it's really just refreshing for me after just kind of being more involved in this aspect of it, because after being around so many cyclists, it gets tiresome after a while. You know, the cyclists, the guys who, I mean, I do it too in the summer, but the guys who shave their legs and are kind of just full of testosterone, it's great and they're amazing at what they do, but there's something, I guess there's something nice about the passion of the newly converted and the newbie and the people who want knowledge, and that's kind of where I really thrive, is kind of doing those and doing these sorts of things. And so I really want to try to keep this as open as we can, and I want to keep it as question-based. And so if there's like anything you guys ever wanted to know but you were afraid to ask the bike shop guy, or if you don't want to go to the bike shop to ask, I think we take this opportunity right now and we do it, and we kind of use that to our advantage. Because like I said, I can sit up here and blather on all day and nobody wants that, I don't think. And that could lead to off-color jokes, you never know. So I think the less I'm, I guess, spouting off, the better. So everybody's, who here has done a triathlon before? Okay, so we have had quite a few. So who's working on their first one? Okay, so we have some pretty good experience. Which
I got some. I should probably share this earlier. But so, got 200 people signed up for the women's triathlon, individual team. 70 people the last time I looked, first time triathletes.
That's this year. People who registered.
That's this year because I had a question on the registration. So I'm sure that it was probably over 50% last year. But right now it's 40% or so. So 70 brand new people that have never done a triathlon. That's awesome.
And it's cool because when you're doing a triathlon, I think everybody's worried about their results, but think about your attitude going into it, like you don't care about what anybody else is doing. It's just you care about yourself and you care about finishing and not getting kicked in the face in the water or whatever the basics are. And so I think it's kind of cool. And just being around those triathlons, it's a pretty cool environment. You know, the top level people, you know, some of them are great, some of them aren't. But the majority of the people, the normal people, are really cool to be around. And I think it's kind of the same with and Linda could back up on this one too, mountain biking. You know, I race mountain bikes not very well, but I enjoy it. And going out to race mountain bikes, it's almost like triathlons in the sense that it's a sense of community. People are all doing the same thing, and if you need to pass somebody, usually you'll get all right, good luck when you go by. You know, and when I get passed, which I do more than I like, it's definitely, give a pat on the back and go. Once in a while you get a guy who'll make you earn it, but that's fine too. I think that's why we're out there. But it's just kind of a sense of community, and I think that's what we want to keep up. And that's kind of my mission here. It's just like, everybody's a cyclist. We're all doing the same thing, from commuters to people who just ride once a month. I think it's, if we're all out there being bike advocates, it's a good thing. So, ask the bike shop guy questions, but I'm just going to open it up right now, and we'll see if we can kind of, boost everything up and get it going. But it could be clothing, it could be commuting, it could be fit, it could be just about, I overheard you guys over there talking about trying to get a tire back on after,
Yes, that was bad. I successfully changed my very first tire, and I've been biking for about 4 years, but
yeah.
I can do it on my hybrid bike easy. My road bike it took 2 of us to get the tire bead back in, and that was the first time I'd ever done it without having to give up and take it to a bike shop. Like,
right.
Stop what I'm doing, put my bike on a car, and take it somewhere.
Right.
It's just, my road bike is just,
They're harder.
it's
yeah.
from high gear. It's
I see, I
impossible.
recognize you.
No, it's just really hard, you know, and I've had like 3 flats, you know, in the past 3 weeks.
Really?
So there's just a lot of stuff out there.
There is.
It's lots of gravel this year, and riding the trail, it's been bad. I mean, I was down by Cornhusker last time. I usually get on at Exarban, you know, ride down to Cornhusker, and I'm like, really, here is the glass. This is the glass. I'm the furthest point away from my car. Thank you. You know?
Good. You were successful in that one?
No, I had to have somebody come fetch me on that one. That was like, call a friend and, you know, that phone a friend deal. Like, really, I came to get you. Remember that time I came to get you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's, you know, people have called the shop before, so if you're new to the shop,
Yeah, I have several, you know, people. That's the thing about biking or about anything. You always have to have your phone on you.
right, yeah, that's the big thing. And we can, you know, if you want to set it up, sometimes we can do a clinic, a tire changing clinic, and it can be really hands-on. I've done a few of those, to where, you know, everybody bring their front wheel in and we'll flatten it and then we'll change it and everybody's going to do it hands-on and everybody will do the same thing.
Yeah, and that's kind of what, you know, and I'm looking like, I'm going to do the triple bypass this year in Colorado.
Nice.
And so on my road bike, even though it would add extra weight, I'm thinking about putting some Kevlar on there. You know, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to add weight, but for most people it doesn't matter. It's the peace of mind.
Yeah, I think that.
What does that mean? You're putting Kevlar on?
So it's basically a type of tire you could get. So, you know, the place where you're going to get most of your flats are right on the tread here. And so you can get tires that are basically have a Kevlar jacket around there. They're going to be, you know, they're going to be heavier. They might roll a little slower, but it's basically a triple flat protection on there. And so it's going to be something that will kind of give you something in your mind thinking like, okay, I'm not going to, especially with something like triple bypass, you can't stop at the side of it.
Yeah, that and the fact that, you know, I mean, you're going to be going up 3 different mountains, which means you have to come down. And coming down is, to me, I can go up going 5 miles an hour and just stay in my granny gears and pedal, but going down the other side is
Right.
lots of braking.
Yeah.
That's the scary part for me.
It is scary because if you get a flat there, then, you know, hard telling what's
Yeah,
going on.
you're inches away from the pavement with your face.
Yeah. I don't want to get too into it,
Let's
Um,
try to keep this up.
but- No, I think, you know.
It's true.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it seems like it's something that can happen pretty easily, and I try to, you know, always have that in the back of my head, you know, but I definitely don't want it. I just want to be loose when I ride. I think it's going to be the same for everybody, as long as you're cautious and have your head on a swivel. Everybody here wears helmets, right? I mean, I'm sure everybody here does wear them. And if not, then talk to me afterwards. I'll show you pictures of my nephew who just got into a bike wreck last week. Because I was only riding in my neighborhood. He said he's 21 and he has 5-6 staples in his head now, a broken collarbone and concussion. And it was a short lecture. It was like, helmet? And that was it. But
Yeah.
it's the cheapest life insurance you can get. And I think that's the biggest thing right there. It's just getting a helmet.
I have not bought a bike in about 20 years since college, and so this year I vow that this is the year I'm going to do it. I've been to a TREK shop. I'm really overwhelmed though because it seems like there are so many different kinds.
Right.
There's so many different kinds of hybrids and so many different kinds of road bikes and mountain bikes. Can you kind of just describe a little bit about those kind of bikes and what kind of use and, you know, what's best for a certain person? I'm really overwhelmed.
Yeah, I mean, it can be overwhelming. I think buying a bike probably used to be pretty easy, but now it's overwhelming. It's almost hard to sell to people if they don't know exactly what they're going to be doing. So I think it's kind of take what you're going to be doing and, you know, tell the salesperson that. If they're a good salesperson, they'll ask you open-ended questions and they'll let you tell them basically what kind of riding you're going to do. So if if you're gonna do, if you just wanna like, I just wanna get a little bit of exercise on the weekend, and, you know, I don't care about going fast, I don't care about how quickly I get from point A to point B, then, you know, then you do something like a comfort hybrid. And so the hybrid, just to not get into crazy terminology, you guys are all familiar, probably a lot of you have road bikes with the drop bars. So,
I can draw pictures while you're talking. What's that? I can draw pictures while you're talking.
will they be related to what I'm talking about?
Yeah. That's a picture of my pedal tire.
Okay.
It's just
I prefer to
extra
use it.
reinforcement.
Make them related. No, yeah, if you want to draw the drop bars,
It's like tires on steroids with extra reinforcement.
How long does it take the little fix-it guys to find you on the tri path if you break down?
ideally quickly.
2 or 3 minutes.
And they'll take care of it for you?
Yeah, we're in a race. Yes, at the race, yes, they will.
Okay.
I've done those for a few years now, and it's like you want to find somebody. I don't know, you know, at the shop you kind of avoid changing flats, but when you're out of those races, you're like, there's somebody, and you're like, you jump out and you go crazy, and you act like you're a paramedic or something. And on the way home, we always look for, like after we leave the race, we look for people with flats just on the road. Like maybe we'll just freak them out. They have a flat, we'll just jump out and fix it real quick. But yeah, we could do it in 1 or 2 minutes, you know, on the side of the road. Because usually we'll encounter people who are just crying or just kicking the bike or something because everything they train for is like
Yeah.
is like going away right in front of them.
Right.
And you know, we had a girl last year at the Omaha Tri who she broke her bike. You know, her derailleur came off, and she was crying and you know obviously upset because she was you know really competitive too, and she happened to be the same size as I am, and I had my bike in there, and I don't know if it's a violation, Kurt, but it's totally
Totally
not.
cheating.
Yeah, but she rode my bike for the rest of the time. So
That's awesome, I didn't know that.
yeah, statute of limitations is up.
It's amazing the stories you find out after. They still come in a year later, so.
Right.
But you were going to draw pictures.
Yeah, drop pictures like the comfort by handlebars, what you're talking about.
Sure. Yeah. The drop bars.
So a drop bar would be like a normal road bike, like that.
Right.
So you're
That's
down.
Right.
Yours is a tri-bike.
Yeah. So his is a tri-bike. So his is really a whole different animal. But with the road bike, what it is you're going to ride longer periods on a road bike. It's usually for people who cover long distances. And the real purpose of those drop bars, you know, a lot of people think, okay, it's going to get me aero, and that's going to be great. But I'd say the bigger difference is you can ride on top of the hoods. You can ride down in the handlebars. You can ride kind of back a little bit. And what that does, getting those different hand positions, is it keeps the blood flowing through the hands. So if anybody has a flat bar bike, you probably notice that after sometimes 5, sometimes 10, if you're lucky, 15, then your hands start to go to sleep. You have to start shaking them out. You know, and usually the solution for people would be like, okay, I'll buy gloves, and that will kind of pad it, but you know, basically you're compressing that nerve and restricting the blood flow, and then your hands are going to go to sleep. There's really not much you can do about it besides just kind of keeping it moving. And with a flat bar, there's really no place else to move it, and so you're basically going to ride one-handed for a while. And so the advantage of the road bike is pretty big for those longer distances, anything over 10 miles. So the drop bar is a feature of the road bike, and also it's a bigger, this is perfect, it's a bigger wheel with a thinner tire. And then, you know, conversely, a mountain bike is a smaller wheel with a thicker tire and a flat bar. So the hybrid, where the hybrid part comes in, is it's a hybrid of a road bike and a mountain bike, and the mountain bike aspect is it's a flat bar and a slightly thicker tire than a road bike. And the road bike aspect is it's a bigger wheel, and so the physics basically just say that you're going to get up to speed better, you're going to maintain speed better with those bigger wheels. So hybrids are basically just what they are. There's just that in-between point between a mountain bike and a road bike. So if people don't want to either spend the money or get in the aero position of a road bike, then the hybrid kind of works for them. The only time you'll really need a mountain bike is if you're off-roading. If you're riding on pavement, the mountain bike is just going to work against you. And some people it doesn't matter. You know, if they have a smaller wheel, it doesn't really matter that they're going to work as hard. But if you rode a hybrid right next to a mountain bike and put up the same effort, the exact same person did, put up the same effort, the hybrid is just going to pull away from it. Even more so with the road bike, because bigger wheels and then a thinner tire, and then on a road bike, even thinner tire, so it's less contact, less rolling resistance, and you're just gonna go a lot faster. So the nice thing about, unlike swimming, and, you know, to a certain extent swimming you can, and running you can, but biking you can really buy speed. You can spend or you can spend $2,000 on a bike, and you could be faster than the person next to you who spent $500. I'm kind of a case in point of that. I get a free bike every year just to ride, and that makes me faster because my legs don't, the bikes do. And so I think hopefully that wasn't a too long-winded, confusing answer, but find out kind of, are you going to compete? Are you going to, you know, is this going to be your triathlon bike? Is this going to be your bump around town bike? Is this going to be your kind of riding on the weekends, you know, put the dog in the basket? You know, whatever works for you. I have a bike specifically to hook the Burley up to, you know, so my kids and I can go to the store and we can go to the park and, you know, those sorts of things. Like that's my Burley bike and I needed a specific bike for that. Millions of bikes out there, and every shop's going to have a different opinion on what bike you need. I mean, everybody should be kind of in the right area, but you know, just go ask the questions and hopefully you'll get some big scruples.
What if I want one bike to do everything?
Yep, I mean that's one bike to do everything is it's doable. There's a couple ways you can do it. You would basically find the bike, or you would find what you're going to do most of the time. You know, say 90% of the time I'm going to be on paved trails. Then you would get a hybrid, probably. Or because then if you had a hybrid, it's a thick enough tire, it's thicker than this road bike, so then you could do gravel, you could do the crushed limestone stuff on the Wabash Trace. You could do that too. So TREK has what they call their FX bike. It's a fitness cross, and that is our biggest selling bike for sure because it's really not a lot of bells and whistles. It's a pretty basic bike. It's affordable. They start at around $500, and then you know, there's men's, women's, all different sizes, and that's the one we sell most of because most people just want to ride on pavement most of the time, and they just want to get from point A to point B. And a lot of people, you'll see a lot of them in triathlons too. People don't have a road bike. That's what they'll have.
What was that called?
It was an FX bike. It's basically a fitness hybrid.
Okay.
So that's what TREK calls theirs, the FX, but every company's going to have something like that.
How much time does the fancy bike shave off the year?
It depends on the person, but it is, I mean, I guess I don't know the numbers, but it would be minutes. If you went from, especially if you went from a mountain bike to, you know, a bike like that, you know, it's a titanium bike, which is a really nice material to have because it has no finite life and it's light. You're going to be noticeably faster. Yeah, I'd say it would just register as minutes, but it just depends on, you're going to get a better, when you pedal, the force you're putting into the pedals is going to propel you faster. The wheels are going to get up to speed better. The thinner tires are going to get you less contact. The positioning is going to change. So you're going to be down 70%, I don't want to get too bogged down in numbers, but 70% of wind drag is from the rider positioning. So if you get down into an aero position, you're cutting down a huge percentage of wind drag on you. And that's why you see most tri-bikes have that kind of fanned out arrow shaped tubes, because that's what you're doing. You're trying to let the wind get past you, and you're trying to be in the ideal position.
Your efficiency is going to go up exponentially from a mountain bike to a hybrid bike to a road bike to a triathlon bike. That can answer that question. Efficiency.
I have a girly bike that looks like the shooting basket in front. Because when I walked into TREK, I said, I just want something on the trail with my kids and the lightest bike you got. And that's what I got.
Good.
And, but then last year when I did the triathlon, I was like, maybe I want a bike where I'm not like this.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I just dropped a chunk of change on the other bike, and so I'm just wondering how much it would work to me.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on, it would be a lot.
Efficiency, you would feel like you're moving without pedaling in a road bike compared to a heavy mountain bike with your dog in the basket.
It's like the difference between shooting a ball and throwing it, I think, between like a mountain bike and a road bike. And then you would still use your other bike because when I first got into biking, it was unthinkable to me that you would have to own 2 bikes. Like, what am I gonna do, oil chic? I can own 2 bikes, you know? But now I have 3, which is not that many for somebody in my position, but 3, you know, it works for me. But you know, the one bike to do it all, we get that quite a bit because no one wants to own 2 bikes, especially if you have a large family. Nobody has to own 2 bikes.
So, you know, obviously, you know, it's great to have the bike for every, you know, every occasion that you might need to. But like, so if you just wanted to try racing,
Yeah.
and you have a mountain bike,
Uh-huh.
does it help to get like different? I mean, just different tires, or is there other things that you can do, like, so that you can say, okay, and then I do this competition, then I go, okay, yeah, I want to do more.
Right.
I mean, I don't really want to go out and buy a new bike just to try racing
Right.
on a bike.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And I think
I mean, I know I won't do as well because of
right. But it's, you know, you could get, a lot of people do it too, you can get slightly thinner tires with not that really mountain bike tread, you know, it has the mud tread with the spikes on it or whatever.
and just get those put on the mountain bike.
Yeah, just get them put on the mountain bikes, you might have to change your tubes, but that's it, and we can do that at the bike shop. And really, it doesn't matter, I mean, I think the big thing is, if you want to look for speed and efficiency, great, you can get a different bike, but, and Kurt can attest to this, and anybody who's been to a triathlon, nobody is gonna judge you for what type of bike you're on out there. I think,
Right.
you know, remember the first year at the women's tri, or the Omaha tri, there was a lady who did it, and she had a rack, she had big bags on the back, and this is like in competition, she had a kickstand, and once in a while she'd just throw that kickstand down and stop on the side of the road and drink for a little bit, and then get back on. And everybody's like, that's awesome, that she's out there, she's doing it. And I think anybody with the right attitude, that's what they're gonna think too, is like, you're out here, you show up at the start line, and I think if everybody else has an issue with it, then you can write them off as a bike stop. And,
Be careful who you judge on size, shape, and the amount of money they have on their bike, because it's going to be kind of a humbling experience when that person passes you because you think that they're bigger than you, or more out of shape than you, or that they've got a cruddy bike or something like that, and they come passing you. So,
yeah.
it's happened to me several times by women.
Yeah, I mean, Linda and I were talking earlier about the women's mountain bike scene, and there are women who are racing that I'm so glad they're not in my category, because they, you know, yeah, Roxanne Fagan, and yeah, they're in Linda's, and Sydney Brown are women who are just incredibly fast, and just, they race at the same time as me, and they're not near me because they're gone, but, you know, they would blow me away, and they're awesome people, and so if you ever want to work on your bike handling, go mountain biking, because that just teaches you how to handle a bike so much better. And these are women who will, you know, they will go out and they will have you run over obstacles 10 times, and, you know, and just keep working with you. And people who are really interested in growing the sport, and they just happen to be really fast.
I did a relay last year at the Tri. I was the runner,
Okay.
but our biker, and just from a lot of people who did the Tri last year and have the road bikes, part of the course is on a cobblestone.
Yeah,
And a lot of people were complaining that, you know, their tires were getting stuck, some people were falling. I don't know, you were there last year.
Yeah.
Did you hear that? And what would you recommend for this year if it's the same route?
It is the same route.
cobblestone?
It is the same route.
You know, those things I think are more intimidating than they really are. And if they were wet, it'd be a different story, but you feel it, it definitely jars you because everything's gonna go through the bike and get on to you, which is, you know, that kind of stinks, especially for the run because it's gonna jar you up. But, you know, cobblestones are kind of just like any other obstacle that, as long as you don't take it too slow and just run through it, then you're going to be fine. As long as you don't do it in any reckless manner, but just maintain control of your bike and pedal. Just give it a nice strong pedal stroke through there. You're going to be fine. You know, everybody came up to us before the race and just like, look for me in the cobblestones because that's where I'm going to be broken down. So we parked right there just to get kind of peace of mind. But maybe somebody did fall after a while, but definitely the first waves that came through, nobody was having any issues. It's more just up here than actual a physical thing.
Okay.
You can pedal through it just fine, and it's really just kind of confidence.
And my 3 rules, inflate your tires to the appropriate weight or appropriate pressure, because you don't want to too less of pressure, because you could get a flat. But so inflate your tires to the recommended amount. Keep a constant pedal stroke on, and then don't look down at the pedal stroke and look at the cobblestone. Look ahead where you want to go, just like you'd be riding on a normal bike and so forth. And then just the good common sense, good firm grip of the bike and be natural. But constant pedal stroke, inflate your tires, and look ahead.
They marked all the real hazards last year. There were cones all over. If there were any real hazards that would cause you any, wheel damage or, skeletal damage, so they were fine. They did the legwork, and it was really safe. We watched for a while and nobody had any problems, so we're like, we're moving on. We're just going to keep.
It is a closed bicycle course, and I don't know if people know that, but what that means is we put a lot of time and effort into working with the police and working with the county and so forth. And so, it's 99%. It's the most closed bike course you're ever going to get to ride on. So you don't have to worry about traffic per se. That adds to another thing. You just have to, own the situation and own your bike and be concerned about that, and we'll take care of the rest.
Yes.
One thing, like when I learned how to mountain bike, which has really helped me, is they say watch where you want to go, don't look at the obstacle.
Right.
Because if you look at the obstacle, you're going to hit it.
Yeah.
But you watch where you want to go. Don't worry about that other stuff. Like if you get on single track and it drops off, it's like if you watch that, you're going to go right down it.
Exactly.
But you just keep it in your out here, but don't stare at it.
Right.
And then you'll just go right over it.
And that's really sound advice. I think just kind of thinking a few moves ahead, and it kind of goes with anything, I think. But just, keeping your head on a swivel and making sure you're looking out for you, and making sure you're not letting things intimidate you to the point where it affects your bike handling or your pedaling cadence. Just keep going, and if it looks like something that's crazy, then don't do it. But most of the time you're going to, especially at a race, you're going to trust the people who put the race together to look out for those things.
What do you do about, my butt hurts so bad after being on the bike for like 3 days.
That's
I don't want to get back on a bike. I don't want to go to spinning class. What do you do?
That's a good question. I kind of wanted to pass these around anyway. So these are, this is women-specific clothing, and the reason I think that it's big, especially with, women are a lot better about wearing these things than men are. So when I first started, the idea of like wearing these was just like, come on, I gotta wear these. Is where I wore them under things forever, and then gradually I came out, and now I won't mince around in anything. I would wear like I gotta go to the store. But the thing to note about these is the pad, the type of pad that's in there, and so basically the higher the level of short, you're really paying for the type of pad that's in here. The big thing to point out is it's a women's-specific pad that should pair up with a women's-specific seat, and we all know just a different pelvic structure. For women, that you're going to need a different seat because basically the bottom parts of the pelvis, or the sit bones, as they say, you need to line up with the seat. If not, you're in soft tissue, and that's what usually causes the issue. And there are different sizes of seats. And at both of the stores, we have something you can sit down on, and it's going to make an imprint, and it's going to tell you basically what size seat you're going to need. And these, Montrard makes different size ones. They have like 30-day, 60-day comfort guarantees, so you could try it. So, and some of them have a cutout, to let the flow through. And there's a million different people basically that are going to tell you, this is the seat that's going to work for you. This is the seat that worked for me, but that's, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for somebody else. So any good bike shop will work with you on seats, let you ride them. If it doesn't work, let you exchange them. So I'm going to pass this around too. But if there's some place you can put your money that's going to help, it's in the cycling clothing, especially in the pad, because of the issue that you're having. And so get yourself a nice pair of shorts and then live in those. And then that'd be cool.
And the other thing that I'd like to do is, friction's not your friend. So they sell stuff like butt butter and shamus cream and things like that. And don't be shy down there. Put a lot on and
Lather up.
yeah. We have the same problems in that area. Different equipment, the same problems.
Yeah, and mostly it's just your, I guess, so this is the medical, this is the ischial tuberosities that are going to hit on the bottom. It's been a long time since fit school, so, but that's basically what's going to make contact with the seat. You want those to be, you want to support yourself with your skeleton. You don't want to, a lot of people think, okay, I need, if I hurt down there, I just need a big, giant gel seat. That'll help everything. But what happens is, the more upright you are, the more you're rotating that pelvis back, and the more weight you're putting back. And so you can have a wider seat. So people who are on beach cruisers, sure, they can have a nice wide seat because their pelvis is rotated back. When you move up to a mountain bike or a hybrid, you rotate that pelvis a little bit more forward, and as a result, you take a little bit more weight off and put it forward, and so the seat needs to narrow out. So the more forward you are, the more narrow the seat needs to be, or else you're going to, if it's a big wide seat, you're going to get, basically the insides of your thighs is going to be brushing up against there, you're going to chafe, and it's not going to feel good at all. And then you're going to start getting saddle sores, and then you're done. That's it. You're going to quit because you're miserable. So saddle fit is a big thing, and it's going to be different for everybody. And anybody stop in the shop anytime, and either me or one of our female employees, whatever people are comfortable with, can help you out to find a saddle for you.
Do you have a trial program, like any trial seats by chance?
We have demo seats right now. ISM, it's a big brand with Tri. We have some demo seats, and like I said, Bontrager has a 30-day on some and a 60-day on some comfort guarantee on the saddles, and it's just no questions asked. Like, I don't like it. You can come in, you can throw it at us if it was really bad, and we'll take it back and we'll try something else, and we'll just keep finding something. If you don't notice your saddle at all, good, keep it. Just keep it forever, because once you notice your saddle, that's when you know it's there, that means you're having an issue. And look at some shorts too.
If you have a road bike, can you switch out to like different types of handles pretty easily? Like if you want the one, I don't know what they're called, the ones that are just like straight up.
Right, yeah.
Is that pretty feasible, or do you have to like special kind of bike to do that?
No, that's a good question too. You can, there's a couple different ways of doing it, and Kurt's is a little different than most people's, but most people are going to have the drop bar that we drew up there. And you can just get clip-on arrow bars. So basically it's just, they're going to come together right here, they're going to clip on, and then you're going to have those. There's nothing's going to be on the end, but it's still going to, I guess, afford you, the ability to get into an arrow position. And those you can do fairly inexpensive. I mean, you can do it for $100, and you could most likely install them yourself. If not, there's a small fee to get them installed. The other way to do it, sorry, I keep moving. The other way to do it is kind of how Kirk did it, and you get a base bar. There's a base bar right here with the brakes are ran down here, and then the shifters come out the end. And on a tri-specific bike, that's usually what you'll see. And so you can be in the bars and shift at the same time. A little more dangerous because you're here, you're braking and shifting at a different spot. And so not recommended for riding in the city, even riding on the trails a lot of times. Just the straightaways is where you want to be. And so when you feel like you're dialed as far as like your bike technique and your bike handling, then maybe move to something like that. But the most common way to do it is to get the clip-on arrow bar. And we have tons of them still. Or a lot of shops. I guess not all shops do, because not all shops have tri-specific stuff, but I'd say most of the time do. What else? Ask a bike shop, yeah.
How do you know when to get a tune-up? Is there a certain number of miles you need to go before you get a tune-up on your bike, or is it, how do you know?
That's a pretty good question. I think once I would definitely do it once a year, and that should be all you would need. And so most people find the time of year, they bring it in February just to hit that, late February, March stuff. But You know, if you stay on top of it once a year, that's gonna, a basic tune-up is going to adjust your shifting, you know, front and rear, true your wheels, and adjust your brakes. And that's usually all you will need, but what, I guess the benefit of when you bring it in is they're gonna spot any major things that are going wrong. So when you put a number to it, I don't know if it's out there, and I didn't know it before I started working at a bike shop, but chains wear out, and as they wear out, they stretch, and they get wider. And so every 1,000 miles, you should change your chain. And so what happens is if you don't, your chain stretches, stretches, stretches. And then right here, this is the rear cassette, all the gears that are on the back. That's the cassette right there. Your cassette will basically be used to having that big, wide, stretched out chain on there. It'll wear the teeth on the cassette. And then if you don't change the chain in time, when you go to put the new one on, the new chain will not be stretched, it'll be thin, and it won't stay on the cassette. It'll skip all over the place. And then you're looking at an extra, you know, 80 to 100 to sometimes even more dollars on top of it. So stay on top of your chain. The chains are only $25, $30, and it's $10 labor to put them on. But we sell these things called chain checkers, and it measures how much the chain is stretched, and that way you can check it yourself. Or if you bring it in, we get free estimates. So bring it in and say, okay, it looks like you need a chain, and hopefully you catch it on time and you don't cost yourself a lot of money. But if you're riding a lot, then definitely get that tuned up once a year. And you can get the drivetrain, and the drivetrain is, crank, chain, front derailleur, rear derailleur. Those are the things that shift the bike. You can get that, for $100 a year, you can get the complete tune-up and all that stuff taken off and put through a parts washer. It looks brand new, and it really, I guess, just kind of protects your investment because bikes are not cheap, as everybody here probably found out in some form or another. What else? Anything else? Are we about?
I think, yeah, it's just kind of